I love it when you call him Matt Barrows because he's one of the best out there, and I'm very, very interested to dive in on a lot of fronts. Marlon Mack is now on the 49er practice squad. We'll get into that and a whole lot more. JD is in for Dibs. What's going on, everyone? Good morning. It's all sponsored by Fremont Bank, full-service banking, no compromises, but everybody in life has a nickname or something that their people call them. So, Maddie, what's that thing for you? I love it when they call me. Now go ahead and fill in that blank.
I mean, Big Poppy's already taken, right? So,
right.
I've got to think of something good.
No one's ever given you a nickname or anything in your whole life?
They have, but I don't know if it's repeatable over the airwaves right now.
All right, fair enough. You can think of one that you know. I mean, there's still a lot of life left, Matt. There's still time. We can come up with your nickname.
That's true. I mean, if you're giving me carte blanche, let me think of a great one, and the next time you have me on, I'll be all ready with it.
I know that you're real good at that. So, yeah, that is your assignment. Let's work on it. But for now, let's dive into these dynamics that are at play. Look, I think we all get the context. We get the weather. We get the first game of the year. We get all of that stuff. But how do you think the organization is feeling about the drama that they welcomed into the room? And now, no surprise, they're getting it.
Yeah, for sure. I think that they had to have known it was coming. I think they're doing their best to ignore it. I think that they can easily convince themselves that that was sort of a fluky loss on Sunday. Because call it what you want, the tent poles, the major foundations that they believe in for this season, which are the running game, the defensive line, and improved special teams, were all good. And those three things were dominating the game to begin with. And then you had, at the end of the third quarter, one broken play, and everything went downhill. And that's you have to ask, how did they allow it to go downhill so quickly and with no response? But like I said, I think that they can take some solace, some heart in that they were just crushing the Bears on the ground in a game in which the Bears were sort of prepared for it. Both teams knew that this was not going to be a passing game, so they were stacked up against the line of scrimmage, and the 49ers were still able to run the ball, and run the ball well, averaging 4.6 yards a carry. I mean, that's tremendous for that type of game, and when you run the ball 37 times, you don't usually lose in that situation. The 49ers did.
And to that point, Matt, how much more difficult now is it to ignore some of the noise when you are 0-1 and you're 0-1 in a game that was set up to a lot of your strengths and you still didn't win it? To me, that's more problematic rather than less problematic or easier to shake off.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Is that you if you have those three things going well, you would think that your quarterback can get you the win. I mean, you're doing lots of things to help him to do that. I mean, I don't think it's panic time because it's only one game. But it's a great question on when it does become panic time for this team. Because right now it's the fans and the media that are sort of in a tizzy. I don't think the players are. I don't think the coaches are. But at some point, they will be. If this continues down this path. I mean, you don't want to use the must-win slogan in week 2, but boy, if the 49ers beat the Seahawks, that would relieve a lot of the air pressure from this balloon right now. Because after 1 week, it's already pretty full. And a nice performance by Trey Lance, a get-back-on-track win against the hated Seahawks, coming off an emotional win of their own against the Broncos, would go a long way.
Matty Barrows on the 49ers. Matty, I feel obligated to ask this. I feel like I already know the answer, but I want to let you speak on it and let people hear you speak on it. The video of Trey Lance being sacked and Mike McGlinchey, instead of helping him up, runs off the field. Trent Williams is right behind him. It made a lot of people scratch their head in terms of what is the locker room dynamic surrounding Trey. So how would you answer that?
Yeah, I mean, both of those guys are just, salt of the earth people. I mean, and great teammates. I mean, Mike McGlinchey is the guy that you want to be your son. Okay, they call him CEO in the locker room. I mean, that's the amount of responsibility that he has. So I just cannot think that this is some sort of snub or some sort of message and body language and this, that, and the other. I just think that they didn't see him or something like that. It's very hard to it'll be something to ask them today. In fact, when the locker room is open, and it'll be interesting to hear what they say. But boy, I just don't think that it denotes any sort of offense towards Trey Lance. I mean, he's well liked in there. He's a very likable guy. You automatically like him. So I know people are reading a lot into that. I wouldn't at all. But again, it'll be interesting to watch because it has become a thing.
How much of Trey Lance running it 13 times, Matt, and Deebo Samuel running it 8 was about the elements and or the Elijah Mitchell injury? And for both of those guys, I mean, do you feel like that's going to be relatively the norm? Because I think you could question Trey Lance, is he going to be able to hold up just physically if they're doing it that much? And I think we all thought Deebo was going to be deployed more as a traditional wide receiver. At least I did. So, yeah, how much of it was the injury and the elements versus this is how they really, truly want to operate this season?
I mean, I think it is how they want to operate this season, not to that degree. I think they realized that with the elements, it wasn't going to be a downfield passing day. So that led to more Deebo runs and more Trey Lance runs. And Shanahan said as much that in the fourth quarter when the rain was coming down, they called a couple of draws there because they knew that they weren't just going to be able to kind of pass their way up and down the field. They had to mix it up. Now I counted 2 of those in the fourth quarter, and there were 7 design runs altogether. So. You can blame the downpour in the fourth quarter for some of that, but that I think that's what that's going to be the attack this year. And I agree with you. The way that Trey Lance runs the ball, which is the way that he ran the ball at North Dakota State, I think is just asking for trouble. It certainly was in Week 5 against the Cardinals last year. No one is quite sure when he picked up that knee injury, but everybody remembers the goal line play where he tried to bowl over 2 NFL linebackers. And you can do that against Illinois State and James Madison University, but you can't do that regularly in the NFL. So it's a stylistic thing. And I think that the 49ers like the way that he runs. It sort of meshes well with Deebo Samuel, meshes well with how Elijah Mitchell runs. 17 games, though, boy. That's a lot of hits that he took, and that's in addition to the sack count and the quarterback hits and things like that. So, like I said, that does not seem to be sustainable for a full season.
Matt Barrows with us, and Matt, I think I have your nickname. We're going to go with Uncle Matty, and the reason we're going to go with Uncle Matty is because I read your mailbag about how was it your niece and nephew who were like, our uncle knows football, and we're playing fantasy football, and so we'd like to know who's going to be really good at the running back position now at the 49ers because Eli Mitchell is out. So, Uncle Matty, who should we pick up? And then once you got that question, it sounded like in your brain kind of like all hell broke loose.
I was revealed as a fraud to my their nieces. They're twins. They're extremely competitive, so now they're in a fantasy league, and they're both calling me up at different times during that Broncos Seahawks game to get the one tip off, the secret that's going to give them the advantage. And I just didn't have I don't have a great answer for. I mean, I think that it's either Ty Davis-Price or Jordan Mason is going to be a breakout star for this team. I just don't know which one it's going to be. So if you're a fantasy football player out there and you have the wherewithal to pick up both guys this week, that would be the genius move because, boy, you just kind of can see it happening. You go back to the Mike Shanahan days and Mike Anderson came out of the blue and Olandis Gary came out of the blue and Terrell Davis, a 6th-rounder, came out of the blue for those teams and were just spectacular for a year. Alfred Morris in Washington. I feel like Jordan Mason sort of has that element a little bit to him. I mean, at least the kind of storyline lends itself to that, and he's been good and solid from the get-go. And I think that when a team is kind of searching for answers at running back, you're going to go with the guy at least initially that you trust the most. And I think that guy right now is Jordan Mason.
And why did he not get a carry on Sunday? That's odd to me, right?
Yeah, well, he's not the number. He wasn't the number 2 on Sunday. That was Jeff Wilson. So
sure. So does he become? So does he jump Wilson now? And now Marlon Mack's in the mix.
Wilson's going to be the lead back against the Seahawks. It's week 2 though. I don't know if Jeff Wilson can last the whole season in that role. These other 2 guys are more explosive than Jeff Wilson. And by the way, I love Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson is on Matt Barrows' fantasy team, and he's getting a big-time start this weekend. But
nice.
In terms of, explosion and breakout, I think it's the rookies that can do that, become the Elijah Mitchell of 2022. I just don't know which one of those 2 guys it is.
Well, from someone who has Jordan Mason on one of his fantasy rosters, I thank you for those comments. Yeah. I tell you what, that's the kind of stuff that I do. I mean, listen. We've all watched Kyle Shanahan enough to know. Go pick up the 4th running back on the roster because he's going to have some sort of a role this year.
Oh, for sure, and it's probably going to be during crunch time of the NFL season, and more importantly, of your Mark Willard of your fantasy season. You're going to look like a genius.
You know what? Gosh, just cut all of these sound bites. They're beautiful. Uncle Matty on the 49ers. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it as always.
All right, anytime, guys. Talk to you soon.